Hello there, Padawan learners, Jedi masters, and lore legends. Welcome to the Bendu Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the first ever Bendu Podcast, where we seek balance in the Force with your hosts, Nate Johns 11 and 64 Josh, and myself, Mule Woman 7. So before we get into what's this podcast about and all that stuff, I'm going to do a little housekeeping, and then we'll get into intros and all those fun things that you do on a podcast. So this podcast, if you would like to help support us, make sure you force push that sub button right here on YouTube. Also, if you look down in the description down below, there's going to be our Epic code that you can use, our Amazon store code. You can also see links for Nate and N64 Josh, and Josh's YouTube. He also does a bunch of YouTube as well. So make sure you check those out in the description below. So dudes, let's just kind of tell everyone what we're thinking of this podcast, what it's going to be, what's going to be about. And I don't know, pretty much the best thing I can say is everything Star Wars, right? I mean,
yep.
That hits the nail on the head right there. Everything Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I mean, you got
so much coming out.
Video games coming out. You got the Bad Batch and other stuff coming up. Mandalorian that's already come out. More stuff that's coming. Ahsoka. All the others. We're going to talk it all right here. Like, we're big gamers as well. So, of course, there's going to be probably video games in this at some point. We're all pretty old Star Wars fans. So, I think we all started with the OG series, maybe. I think we all did. So, and we want to keep the podcast usually to around an hour. This is kind of the prologue, so it may not be a full hour. We're kind of doing introductions, so you guys out there on YouTube can kind of get to know us and kind of know what we're all about. So, let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start with my man, N64 Josh, because I've known this cool cat for I don't know how many years now, man.
Like 7 or 8 years, probably. Like, we got, as long as Destiny has been around, we've pretty much known each other, I would say, give or take.
So tell us your story, man. Who are you? What are you about? How'd you get into Star Wars?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I was just a wee little lad, right? Like,
wee lad.
This goes back even before I was born. My dad took 9 different dates to see Star Wars 9 different times in the theaters. That's the story anyway. I don't know how accurate it is, but that was the last story I was told. So I think my mom rolled her eyes when he said it. So it was always a part of my childhood, right? Yeah. I have just kind of vague memories of watching Return of the Jedi in the theater. Again, I mean, I was like 2, but I don't know if you guys know this, back in the day when a movie came out like that, it was in the theater for an entire year. It wasn't just a short run like they have now. It was you could go a year later and see. So I do have some vague memories of that. I didn't have a VCR growing up as a kid, not until I was probably in the 5th grade or a little later. So I had friends who had a Betamax. And I've watched Star Wars on Betamax more than any other format.
You're showing your age, bro.
I know. Everybody in the chat's like, what's a Betamax? Well, it was Sony's smaller, better picture, better audio video cassette. That's what I watched it on. So beside watching it as often as I could at their house on Betamax, anytime it came on TV, I was really excited. And to date myself even further, one year for Christmas, I got the Scout Trooper action figure, 4-inch action figure.
Yes.
The speeder bike that if you press the button on the back, it would explode, right? And I had a record of the Battle of Endor, and I would go put it on, and I would reenact the Battle of Endor while the record was playing with my action figures. So
awesome.
Just to give you an idea of how chat right now saying Grandpa Josh.
Grandpa Josh.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
That's so awesome, been a fan ever since the original, the original trilogy, and just have stuck with it all along.
Yeah, don't you do some really cool stuff on TikTok too, man?
Oh yeah, like as far as content and stuff, yeah. Make TikTok's a lot of fun. I can't get any videos other than Mario Kart videos to do anything on that platform. To give you an idea, like I'd gone like 2 weeks without putting a Mario Kart video up, and I was like, okay, let's see if we can, now everything flops, like 300, 500 views total. Put one Mario Kart video. Mind you, I just went and re-downloaded one of my old videos and just re-uploaded it. 100,000 views. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this? Like, I'm just going to start putting secret messages behind Mario Kart footage. I think like that's what I'm going to have to do on that platform. So, but yeah, I create everywhere. N64 Josh, if you Google it, I mean, you're going to find the website. You're going to find the different podcasts I do. I'm in the chat right now as Xbox Now. That's the new YouTube channel I've recently started. And so, yeah, I create a lot of content.
Right on, man. Right on. So Nate Johns, we go back a ways, but you also do a lot of stuff for MHG. So tell everyone about yourself, man. How'd you get into Star Wars?
So I just remember growing up with Star Wars. It was just one of those things that always watched. I think Return of the Jedi was the first one I ever saw at a friend's house, just like little parts of it, and eventually had the VHS set. And it was my, sick day movie. I'd be homesick. I just watched Star Wars. Didn't catch any of the original trilogy in the theaters. I was a little younger, so they were all out of the theaters by then. But I do remember the special editions. What was it, 97 when the first one, A New Hope came out in theaters with the special edition with the first of Lucas's adjustments. Although at the end of it, the film actually like dissipated, so I didn't get to see the entire thing. It just like all crumbled up as we were leaving. We're like, what's going on? Like during the medal ceremony.
Like, what the heck? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah, just enjoying Star Wars. And, I mean, all the movies and more recently the shows. So yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. So I guess I'm next. Am I next here?
Yeah, you're next.
I'm gonna sound.
What's your history with Star Wars?
Gosh. I'm gonna sound old like Josh right now. So there's this thing back in the day called a RCA Laserdisc. I don't know if you guys ever. There's huge Laserdisc, and you have this huge, like, it looks like a vinyl record that you just shove in there to watch a movie, right? And then you have to pull this big lever down to watch movies. Well, I have an older brother that's 7 years older than me, and of course, being competitive as we are as brothers, we did everything competitively. That included watching Star Wars. So we had, back then it was just called Star Wars, and now it's called New Hope. But we were watching Star Wars over and over and over on that Laserdisc until it would like no longer read anymore. And after that, we decided just to have quote wars. So we would be like, okay, here's the scene. What does he say after this scene? And you had to say it right. And if you didn't, then, your brother was better than you. So it was just like a big one-up game. And it just made me fall in love with Star Wars. And I think, we'll get into this a little bit later, but like as a kid, I grew up on a farm, like in the middle of nowhere. Right. And like you have no aspirations, no hopes and dreams other than just like, I'm not just going to grow up and work on the farm. And so Star Wars registered for me on that level. Like when you see the binary sunset, like to this day, when I see that, I think about myself standing at the edge of our pasture and watching the sunset thinking, man, there's got to be more out there, right? There's what is this? Like, it's not just this, right? And so Star Wars just took a hold of me, and I never looked back, between the movies, the comics, the shows, everything, man. Just so, I just loved it. I gobbled it up. I couldn't get enough of it. So that's kind of what got me into Star Wars. And so we got a few questions just to kind of get to know all of us a little bit more tonight as well. What was the first movie you ever saw for Star Wars? Like, I'm going to say in the movie theaters. Let's put it on that. Movie theaters. What's the first movie that you ever saw of Star Wars?
Like I said, Return of the Jedi, like
in theaters.
It's a very vague memory. Yeah. I mean,
that was like 84.
I was like, remember.
It was 80. It was 83. So I was 2, maybe 3, or depending on when it happened and all that. But so it was very vague. The special editions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's what's funny about that. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I only saw New Hope, and I didn't go and watch the other two, and I kick myself to this day for never seeing those.
And you're on a podcast.
I know.
I think I missed the second one. I think I missed Empire for a special edition in the theater, but I'm pretty sure I saw Return of the Jedi in theater too.
Yeah, I still kick myself to this day.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this about episode 1. The day episode 1 came out, there's a little bit of history for me with that movie. I got engaged.
Yeah.
I was in high school, a senior in high school, and we were on the news for going and pre-ordering our tickets at 5:30 in the morning at the movie theater. In our little town, just had this little. The movie theater was relatively new,
Yeah.
and King 5 News was there, and there me and Jen were getting our tickets. And then for waiting to get in the movie, we brought a 64 and a little combo TV.
That's hilarious.
And we were playing GoldenEye, and Little Caesars had these 3-foot long pizzas, and we were sitting there chowing pizza, playing GoldenEye. Somebody brought some weird video that we ended up watching, and
That's hilarious.
it was like
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Right on, man. What about you, Nate?
So yeah, it was the New Hope special edition was the first one in theaters. Now if we go with the first original release, it would be episode 1.
Episode 1. Nice, man.
So I would have been 13.
Yeah. I think for me, Josh, I think it's the same. I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters. I was like 3 or 4 at the time. I just remember being able to barely see over the seat. And the thing that was the most vivid for me is when I saw the Ewoks for the first time, I was like freaked out. I was like, what the heck are these little fur balls, So it kind of freaked me out. But I think that was the first one I ever saw in theaters. The first one I ever saw was, of course, New Hope, because, RCA Laserdisc, baby, back in the day.
Yeah, of course.
So this one, I know, and Josh, please, dude, hold on. Side note, you were showing us some amazing collectibles that you have. You got to show the stream.
Okay.
Some of these collectibles, man, because they were. I was like, looked like flipping out with some of them, man. This was nuts.
Okay, so being a kid in the 80s, I don't know if there's a date on here. 1984. Okay, so this is 1984. This is the back of the Star Wars cereal boxes. So this is that's the Stormtrooper, of course, and then Chewie, and then 3PO, and then of course my favorite, Luke. Look at that. It's
Dude,
Sebastian.
It is. It
is.
So Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Were those ones you could cut out and actually put on as faces if you wanted to? It looks like it is.
So I don't. If you look closely, I don't know if you can see because of the camera, but there's actually spots where you cut out for their eyes and cut out for the nose, and then I think just for the eyes and the nose, and then there was 2 because these were the ones I just saved, so I would always have them. But I used to run around, get a piece of yarn, you'd punch the holes right there and tie it around, and I would run around the house with my wrapping paper that I'd paint green on the end, right? The roll, the cardboard roll, and then just run around playing as Luke Skywalker. I mean, that was just my thing.
That's awesome, man.
That's what I always did. So
what were those
I also
cards?
dug out.
Yeah.
I also dug out some 1992, 93 Star Wars cards. These are from Topps, and they're a glossy card. Like they're pretty nice. So there's some concept art of Yoda once the camera focuses. There we go. It's
That's
right,
freaking awesome.
Yeah, and I showed you guys this before we started, but this is a cool picture of George Lucas with the crew there. I'm a little too close, so there you go. And it's just, and what's interesting is it goes into like this card in particular. Let's see. Okay, so this I believe was one of the original Empire Strikes Back movie posters, if I remember correctly.
That's
but
awesome.
Then on the back of the card, it talks about Boris Vallejo, the fantasy artist renowned for his Amazonian women and Herculean men, took on the commission for the Coca-Cola Company to do 4 promotional posters for Empire Strikes Back. His largest, the front, and of the collage of heroes and Darth Vader with cut-in scenes of action of Hoth and Dagobah. He also captures spiritual Luke Skywalker, which you can see on the back of the card, but it's really little, taking instruction from Yoda, the Jedi Master, in the steamy swamps of Dagobah. So there's all kinds of historic tidbits on the back of all these cards. Yeah, and some of it's really interesting. Like this picture right here, if it'll focus, the back of it is showcasing like the 1 year anniversary of like the action figures or whatever, and they're all standing around a cake. Like it's just it's I don't know. I just, once we said we were doing this, I was like, you know what? I
Gotta
need to
pull
dig
it
out.
out. Yeah.
I need to dig out some of these things because, like, they're just in a memorabilia box. The last thing were these magazines called technical journals, and I always see you in your TikToks with the encyclopedias and the different
the books.
and so this thing, like, this is kind of like embossed or like raised a little bit. These were $10 back in like 90, like in the 90s, right? So like it was like I could get this or 2 Ninja Turtle action figures, and so I mean that it was like, okay. And I always knew once I, like, just based on the cover and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna take care of these things.
Yeah.
But it'll be difficult for me to do, but there's actually a pull out. Like this pulls out and it's got like
dude, that's like freaking awesome.
Like a blueprint of like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And then this side is a breakdown of lightsabers, like Luke's and Anakin's, and like, the
Obi-Wan,
belt ring and the power cell and the safety and the rear grip. And I was like, what? A lightsaber has a safety like my BB gun? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I have volume 1 and 2 of these, and it was one of those things even as a kid, I was like, I don't really want to touch this because I don't want to ruin it. But I mean, it's got like a layout of the Mos Eisley Cantina.
That's freaking awesome, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, some of this stuff is still I'm sure it's still accurate or canon or whatever, but there's probably some things in here that got moved to legend, right? But I mean, there's a breakdown of this pulls out too, and it's a breakdown of Jabba's barge. And so it just kind of gives some different history on that. So
I bet you could try to find those on eBay. I wonder how much they are. Like, cause people would pay money for that stuff, man. That's like amazing memorabilia right there.
Yeah, here's what's crazy. I just saw this picture. I don't remember who got them for me, but you see that plate? I used to have that plate.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
So there's just they're kind of like time capsules as you look through them. I mean, the back of the first one is Super Empire Strikes Back, which is like, I'll be talking about this on the show for sure, or talking about that game because it's one of my favorites. So.
Heck yeah, man. Dude, you were saying action figure, and that made me think of a bad story as a kid. I have to tell it now since we're kind of doing our get to know us prologue here. So, having an older brother, he had the big Millennium Falcon, the big ones that you could buy that were like massive. And he had probably 20 or 30 action figures. And I don't know why I did this. I got mad at him or something. So I decided to go in our backyard and bury the action figures. And I have no idea where I buried them. I couldn't remember.
Oh, no.
So to this day, they're somewhere back on my family farm in the backyard. If I could probably find them, if they're not disintegrated by now, they'd be probably worth so much money, man. Because I'm like, they were like the original, actual action figures that you see people have in like museums nowadays, I'm like, man, that was a stupid kid.
Well, I can add the stupid kid on that.
Uh-oh.
So I almost burned my house down with a Star Wars action figure.
Oh
my gosh. And because of the Star Wars action figure, I actually froze because I was no longer allowed to use the baseboard heater in my room. So I should have looked it up. I can't remember his name, but he's a white droid that's in Jabba's palace, and he's burning the feet of that other droid when 3PO. Well, I had 2 of them. And I was like, well, I want one to have battle damage. So I set him on the baseboard, but like inside on these thin little fans that were in there.
Oh my gosh. And
then I remember we like got called for dinner. I came back and he was like melting into the,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh man, I got 2 choices here. I could either leave this and see what happens, or I can go get my mom. Cause I don't want this. It's going to catch fire. Right. So
oh my gosh.
She turned my heater off. And then he solidified right there, and I couldn't get it off. And from that day, I was no longer allowed to use the heater in my bedroom, and it was always cold in there.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's hilarious. Nate, do you have any embarrassing stories from your youth?
Not like that.
Okay, so moving it along here is our get to know me segment. What is your favorite movies or shows? Let's go with your top 5. It can be TV shows, movies. So give me your top 5.
Nate, you start. I've talked a lot.
All right. Rogue One's definitely the top.
Really?
Oh yeah, Rogue One. I love that one.
Nice.
Then
What did
probably-
it for you? Was it the Vader
I don't
scene?
know.
Or?
I mean, that definitely plays into it, and just the movie. It's got the best droid. It's got K2. He's awesome. It's too bad we won't see him again. But and it was different. I enjoyed the lack of Skywalker actually,
Yeah.
or just it was other
Something
than
different.
I guess Leia.
Yeah.
And Vader, but yeah. So it was just the different focus for me.
Yeah.
Empire's probably 2. Then the original. Then I might go Clone Wars, the show.
Yeah.
And the last one, it's tough. I mean, probably Return of the Jedi.
That's solid, man. That's a solid 5 there.
I mean, there's so many near the top. You got I feel like there's not much in the middle. It's either really good or...
It's stacked. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like picking top 5 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Right.
You know who pretty much everyone's first couple are going to be, at least in
Mhm.
that top 5. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I
What about
mean, that could change in a couple of years once we have more. Mando needs to have more before it kind of gets up there. And who knows what
Yeah.
these kind of like one shots with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and all that. So
Yeah.
it'll probably change.
Josh, what about you, man?
It's pretty straightforward for me. Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, New Hope. Number probably Revenge of the Sith, and then for number 4, that's where it gets a little bit
Murky.
well, a little bit, but I mean, Mando for me has got to hit that. It has to hit that list. Honestly,
Yeah.
And,
That's respectable.
I mean, it's so funny. That last episode of Mando, like my wife had to leave and I was like, I can't stop watching right now. I'm sorry. We'll have to finish it again. Once
Yeah.
you get, And I was glad she left because I've never sobbed like a little baby watching.
Yeah. Just so good.
Or
Yeah.
it was like, I literally think there was like, I think I messaged you and I was like, suddenly a million voices cried out
Yes.
with tears of joy.
Yes.
as Luke showed up, and
Yeah.
that's, I mean, yeah. So, and actually, I was thinking about this ahead of time. Revenge doesn't make the list. That's not what I meant to say. Mando is 4, and the toss up for me is either Clone Wars or Rebels, and because I enjoyed both of those so much. So,
They're just one show. Let's just consider
they
them one show.
almost are, right? They almost are, just like 30 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
So, or whatever, 20, I don't know, but yeah. So that'd be me for sure. How about you?
Return of the Jedi Empire Strikes Back number 1. That's number 1. Number 2, Return of the Jedi. Number 3, New Hope. It's really tough because like I want to put The Mandalorian in my top 5, but I almost can't because Clone Wars is just so freaking good. Clone Wars is just spectacular at filling in the gaps of who Anakin is and Obi-Wan and just like his transition to the dark side. Especially the last season that we get with Ahsoka. Oh my gosh, dude. And then I have to put Rebels as my number 5, even over all the other movies and everything. Simply because like my 2 favorite Jedi, and we're going to talk about this in a second too, our favorite light side and dark side characters. But my 2 favorite Jedi is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Kanan Jarrus. And Kanan to me is he's very similar to Obi-Wan in so many ways. He's not as traditional as Obi-Wan, but like when he made his sacrifice in Rebels, I was just like, dude, so freaking good. So that's got to be my top 5 Star Wars. So the next question, we're kind of just moving along here. And this will probably be a little bit shorter episode than our typical podcast, guys. We're just kind of letting you guys get to know us. your favorite light side character and your favorite dark side character. It can be Legends. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Nate, take it away.
Did I just say Revan? Counts as both, right?
Wait, don't say nothing. I've never played it.
Okay, never mind. I won't say anything about Revan.
No, I already know.
I mean, technically,
you're fine.
I mean, technically, I could say, but that no, but
Yeah. No,
Dark Side, I'm going Maul. He's especially with all the extended stuff between Clone Wars and Rebels and what we almost got at the end of Solo. Maul, I mean, he was awesome, and he was one of the best parts of Phantom Menace, and that just was nothing until Clone Wars. Light Side, it's tough. I mean, there's so many good characters on that side.
Yeah.
Honestly, a little underappreciated character, Wedge Antilles. And part of that is because, back in the 90s, back with the books, the X-Wing series, that was just such a great series, and he was a big part of that. So he's always been one of those characters that I've really enjoyed. And when he showed up at the end of Rise of Skywalker, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like as part of the
fleet. Only time you said that during that movie.
Yeah, I mean, there were some fun parts of that movie. But yeah, Wedge has just always been one of those favorites for me.
Right on.
Yeah.
Josh?
That's cool. I mean, Luke for me, it's just that it is. There's no yeah, he was a little whiny at times. I was going to pick up some power converters, right? But I mean,
yeah.
But just his character just always resonated with me. I just always, because I too grew up on a farm, right? And so like there was just something about like seeing the farm boy get to go on the adventures, and just like that always rang true with me. So and then for me it's a toss up between Vader and Maul, right? Because Vader was always just like the like quintessential villain, right? There was very few villains back then that even compared with him. I mean, just like, when you're pretty young and you're watching somebody like just strangle some other like dude with his bare hands, and you hear his throat crunch, you're like, that's a bad man. You know what I mean? And so, and the voice, his name just escaped me, but for Darth Vader,
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, there it is. He like just everything, it just fit. But then when you fast forward, the highlights for Phantom Menace was when Maul was on the screen, and that fight between him and Obi-Wan and him and Qui-Gon, and just the way like all of a sudden it was like, wow, lightsabers are not just like Excalibur any longer. Like this is like ninjas and bow staffs, I loved it. So it's yeah, and it's and like Nate said too, the more we've got to learn about Maul along the way has been complex. Great. But and a honorable mention would be Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games.
Yeah,
right? Especially that first game. Like, that was as a Star Wars fan, those filled such a huge gap, as far as like just getting to have Star Wars stories, the movies and everything, and some of those, and we'll get into the games and stuff in a little bit, but that really, I just enjoyed his character a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to be boring. Pretty much Luke, similar to you, Josh, and, growing up on the farm. I mean, Obi-Wan is almost there, almost tops it, because Obi-Wan's just, you know what? Actually, I'm going to change it. I'm going to say Obi-Wan, because I think the turning point for me that makes him better than Luke for me is when him and Maul are facing off in Rebels, and Maul says, "Look what you've become, a rat in the desert." And he says, "Look what I have risen above." And I'm just like, that's my boy. That's Obi-Wan. He's been through so much, and he's risen above everything. It's just like, man, that was, I gotta say Obi-Wan, because like I can't wait to see the TV series and see what they do with him. So I gotta say, as far as dark side, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you guys and go with Maul, because like he is his character is so deep, and Filoni did such a good job of expanding on him after Phantom Menace, that I love his development. From he may not be really a bad guy when he meets Ezra, like kinda he has his own little thing going, but yeah, he's really a bad guy, And then at the end, where he's like, he'll avenge us. Luke will avenge them. It's like it's just weird, his dichotomy of just the way he started. I mean, because he's kidnapped as a child by Palpatine, or basically given over by Mother Talzin, and then all the way to the end, where he's just so full of anger against Obi-Wan it consumes him and he dies. So I think those have to be like my favorite Jedi and favorite Sith. So this is the last part, guys. This is we're all gamers, so this is the big one here. Favorite Star Wars video game? Nate.
I mean, KOTOR is going to be mine. Knights of the Old Republic. That was one of the. It was I've already mentioned it a few times. So
yeah.
And it was my introduction to BioWare. So which eventually led to Mass Effect and those. But
yeah,
the twist. I mean, it's an old enough game that I'm not going to worry about spoilers. But I still remember sitting in my dorm playing that, and just my jaw dropped when you got to the little twist of your Revan. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So and the second one was good. I'd love to see, I know they have almost a director's cut mod or something that they had issues with that, but that and some other fun ones like the pod racing. That was always fun back on the N64.
Yeah.
But yeah, KOTOR is definitely my favorite.
Right on. Josh.
This is not easy for me to choose one. It really isn't. It's tough because I've never played Knights of the Republic. I actually started it not too long ago on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I was like, kind of a turn-based RPG or whatever. I figured it might work, but it's so tough. It's so tough because the Force Unleashed, like we talked about, those were such stellar games. Remember playing as Darth Vader and force choking and force pushing Wookiees just like ragdolls,
Yeah. And then blowing up a whole door and dude, yeah.
Yeah, and just the story when Leia showed up and the just all of it. It was really great. But Star Wars games have always been a thing for me. From all the way back to the Atari, right? And the NES. I have a complete in-box Empire Strikes Back NES game. And so the Super Star Wars games, like I showed on the back of that technical journal, Super Empire Strikes Back, I got it on Christmas Eve, and I played until 5 a.m. that morning. And I think I only made it into maybe the third level because those games were so hard.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. I was running around with Luke and a lightsaber, and I was doing the speeder missions and taking out the. And so it's tough because you've also got the Fallen Order that's out, right? And even the story for Battlefront 2. So for me to choose just one, I'm just gonna go with the Clone Wars / Tetris game that came with the X.
Not even Republic Commando honorable mention. It's on Nintendo Switch now, bro.
Okay, Lego Star Wars. All right, Lego Star Wars. But no, we were talking about Rancors and Jedi Academy, and the multiplayer with Jedi Academy was so much fun. You could customize so much stuff, and so it is really difficult for me just to choose one Star Wars game, because I remember going back and beating all of the Super Star Wars games. They were not easy back then. Those were Mega Man level difficult.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's Star Wars. I need to see this thing all the way through. I want to see, because you guys probably remember, but when we would play those games, it was how are the games going to tell these stories? Because it's not going to be just the movie. You're going to have to do other things, because otherwise the game would be boring.
Yeah.
And so it was cool getting to see jumping up into the sand crawler, or the way Darth Vader would throw the pieces at you in Cloud City, and you had to try to block them, or whatever the case was. And it was always just so much fun getting to live out the moments in the movies that as close as we could with
Yeah.
with a game.
Yeah. Man, I agree. It's really hard because there's some good ones out there. Jedi Academy, you know, Cal Katan. What was the second one? There was Jedi
Outcast, I think.
Outcast, yeah. Jedi Outcast. The OG Star Wars Battlefront 2. That one was fantastic. I mean, you could pretty much play so many different heroes and characters in that game. And the story mode was kind of cool because it was like you had a clone telling you the story as you're going through fights and stuff, you know.
Right.
KOTOR, of course, is way up there for me because, like Nate was saying, that it was just the introduction to something like where you're playing a game and you make choices and they actually matter. And, you know, so that was a big one for me. But I'm actually going to pull kind of a one out of the side that most people wouldn't expect me to say, but I'm going to say Jedi Fallen Order. It's probably my favorite Star Wars game. And it's not because of the...
expect that. That's exactly right. I knew you were going there.
You know me too well, Nate. Yeah. But I think I have to do it because that ending was just so freaking epic, dude. When you see Vader and just the way they portrayed him, you know, and being a kid, like when you see Vader in Rogue One, you're just like, that's the Vader I always thought about in my head when I was a kid, you know, when I had my stick and I was playing like I was fighting him, you know, or whatever. But I thought the story was great. Say what you will about the mechanics or whatever you want. But I thought Respawn did a fantastic job on that game with the story. And I'm really excited for Jedi Fallen Order 2 because I think that, like, we need more games like that, more good single story Star Wars-y games, you know? I love Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, but it's something about a single player game sometimes, you know?
Well, and can we just kind of camp on this game for a little bit?
Let's do it.
I do want to throw out the Rogue Squadron games as well because those were also so well done. Yeah. And the old school arcade game that was just the vector graphics. I don't know if you guys remember that one too, where you just do the trench run over and over again. That was
heard of it.
Atari, right? The Atari. Yeah. I played that. I had that as a kid growing up.
They make one of those 1-up machines. I remember when I was at E3, I think 2019, they were showcasing that one, and it has just the handle. You know, it wasn't like a joystick and stuff. It was like you could turn and. Yeah, so I remember that was a lot of fun as well. But Fallen Order, it feels like a spiritual successor to not only it's not just a great Star Wars game, but it feels like a spiritual successor to like the Metroid games and like the Metroidvania style game, but done in that third person perspective where like it may be cheesy to some people or like, okay, I'm over this, whatever. But I loved the fact that it was like, I don't know what power I'm going to need to be able to move that bridge right there. But I know I'm going to be able to go and check that area out later. Yeah. And that to me, like took me back to the times of like Super Metroid and games like that, where it was like, you have to keep this mental checklist of like, oh, I've got to make sure. And I remember playing Fallen Order because I I beat it in like 4 days in over the during the holidays,
good, right?
And I had never played it before. I waited till after I bought it, right, last December, like 2 Decembers ago. And then it hit Game Pass, and then I played it. Whatever, I'm a knucklehead. So, and everybody kept telling me, we got Nightcrawler in chat. He was like, "You got to play it, dude." Like he was the same way. He's like, I couldn't put it down. And
can I take a minute right here? I want to call out somebody on the podcast named Nate Johns. He has not even finished it. I think he started.
Tried it twice. I've started it twice and just couldn't. I'll give it a try again sometime, but it just didn't. The gameplay just didn't click.
Oh. Just put it on easy and play it for the story.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I've said if you finish Witcher, I'll play that.
Oh my gosh, no.
That's a huge undertaking, though. Witcher.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh. Interrupt. Anyways.
No. You're good. You're good. But that was some of the like. I kind of thought the combat was a little like. I hate the fact that Disney tells EA you're not allowed to dismember characters right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, my lightsaber can cut this giant monster's leg off, but a stormtrooper is like, ha, you've only burned my chest. Like, like
that needs to be a soundbite.
I don't know. It kind of drove me nuts a little bit, and I think the Force Unleashed was the same way. I don't know that you could really dismember people, and I get it. I mean, because it would just be pieces everywhere at that point. But
Yeah.
But the combat aside, like I was having the most fun, like exploring the different worlds and learning about the characters, knowing that this was all canon. Right, because some of these characters, I wasn't completely caught up on like Clone Wars when I played through that game, so
Yeah.
I didn't know much about like is it the Sisters of the Nine? Is that the correct?
The Night
Sisters.
Sisters.
Or the
yeah.
Night Sisters? Yeah. So it's Ren has right. I can't remember. Anyway,
Knights of
Knights
Ren.
of Ren.
is
Knights of
different.
Nine,
Yeah.
right? Is it Nine or Ren?
Knights
I
of
don't-
Ren, and
Knights
then
of
the
Ren.
Night Sisters. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So I'm not a real fan. I know you guys will say that in the comments.
But you love Luke.
I love Luke. Yeah, I love Luke. So, yeah, it just felt like I was playing some of my, like, it felt like a Nintendo game. Honestly, it felt like a modern Nintendo game, as far as like they took some of the classic video game tropes and put them in this game, and it all clicked for me. I really liked that
Heck yeah,
a
man.
lot. So
Heck yeah.
I'll give it a
Love
try
it.
again at some point.
just
I mean-
put it on easy.
Yeah, I might have to. I have trouble just putting it on easy though.
Yeah. It's that
You can
mental
go back.
Yeah.
mental block. I mean, I haven't gone over Jedi Knight, I think, just because I like to just play and feel like a total BA, while I'm doing it. So, yeah. So guys, that about closes up the podcast. Any final thoughts or anything you guys want to say about Star Wars, or anyone that's going to be watching these future episodes? Oh, I will say this real quick. We will probably have some maybe like lore tidbits, like a little lore segment. I think Nate would probably be amazing at those, because he's reading more of the current books than I am. So I'm more of the comic side guy. So but there's going to be all kinds of stuff on the podcast, guys. Lore, talk like this tonight, where we just shoot the bull, talk about video games, all that stuff. But any other closing thoughts you guys have before we wrap this first episode up?
I just want to know what like you mentioned the Millennium Falcon. I kind of want to know what the coolest Star Wars toy was that you had. Like,
Ooh, it's got to be my
same-
Boba
same
Fett
as
helmet. I don't have it with me right here. It's in my bedroom, but I
You
have
said
the
had, not have.
oh that I had. Well, I had it with me right here. It's in the bedroom right now. So does that count? It's the 40th anniversary prototype Boba Fett white helmet. I mean, you go on Amazon, you can't find that thing under $200 right now, and I got it for like 85 at the time.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't
How
even know.
about you, Nate? What was one of your favorites?
As a kid, I honestly didn't have as many Star Wars toys. Now I've started collecting pops, so I have the Mandalorian with carrying Grogu, which is probably my favorite of the Star Wars pops that I have, or the collection of troopers I have. So,
So I had the
on.
Imperial shuttle
ooh.
with
Dude,
the
you
wings.
had it? Yeah. The
Yeah.
big one?
The big one. And I had a
Dude.
friend come over and rip both wings off and destroyed it.
Oh
And-
my gosh.
Yeah, you should hear my mom talk about it. She's still like, actually the last time I was with her and she brought it up, she was like, "I'm going on eBay. I'm getting you another one." Like, okay, all right.
Fuck that.
But and then I had an X-wing too. You could press down on
Yeah.
R2 and it would
Yeah.
open. It was like the Dagobah one, so it was all dirty and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I do remember friends having the Ewok village though. That was always
that
fun.
was
Yeah.
cool. That was cool with the little foam pit.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it wasn't that. My grandma had Dagobah, the little Dagobah,
Mhm.
and it had that same kind of foam pit deal. But my grandmother had like probably 100 action figures she'd get from thrift stores. So I had like
Yes.
two versions of Yoda. They were both the same figure, but one was yellow and one was green. And I would always have them fight. I would take up her entire dining room table and just set all of them up and have them. And she's like, "Oh, look, they're all dancing." I'm like, "This is a brawl. This is
this is a fight.
Just because it looks like a giant ballroom dance. They are fighting. You don't have any of their guns, so they're just all their arms were straight out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, good times. Good times.
I will say I had the Sandcrawler. I did have that too.
Oh,
So,
that's sweet, dude.
I mean, we had a ton of stuff, man. It was mostly action figures, but we had like the Falcon, the Sandcrawler. I think we had a smaller X-Wing and a Y-Wing. I can't even remember now. It's been so long. But
cool.
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Josh, Nate, I can't wait. We got the Bad Batch coming up soon, so there's going to be a lot to talk about, especially in May. We'll probably do these every other week or so. We'll just see how it goes. Josh does a lot of content. We do a lot of content on the Mulehorn Gaming side as well. So we'll just probably every other week is probably what we're shooting for. But guys, thank you for joining us. Make sure you visit mulehorngaming.com and click on the podcast menu to get more great podcasts that are in the MHG network. And remember, guys,